All right, so here's the story. China encouraged citizens to report each other for posting mistaken opinions on the internet. So they've created an app, and the app is to help people report when people around them may be mistaken. Their opinions are mistaken, and they must be reported to the government of China, right? So this is actually an app and a hotline. It says here that China launched a hotline this past Friday. This was this was about so, we're looking at like a week and a half ago, they launched this app to target online comments that defame the ruling Chinese Communist Party or question its account of history ahead of the party's 100th anniversary in July. Now, I want to point something out. Now, this is Newsweek talking, right? So they're saying that these online comments that are going to be flagged are ones that defame the ruling Chinese Communist Party or question its account of history, right? That is not the way China phrases it. This is what's important. It's important to note that even though our media will phrase it that way, they're saying, oh, well, the people that they're wanting to report are people that go against the government. Well, China doesn't say, hey, if you're going against the government, if you know somebody going against the government, then report them. That's not the way they phrase it. And that is important to understand, because when these things happen to us, when these types of censorship things happen to us, we have to be able to recognize it. And a lot of people think that it will just be obvious and it'll slap you in the face and it'll be so simple, like, hey, you're not allowed to say anything negative about Joe Biden or you're removed from the internet. Well, nobody ever says it like that. That's not how it goes. Instead, the way it works is you end up with these lawmakers in Congress who are saying, hey, fake news and lies and misinformation need to be removed. And that's the way they phrase it. They don't say it's anything that criticizes the mainstream narrative or the government's narrative or the government's agenda or Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi or whoever it might be. They don't say, hey, nobody is allowed to criticize Joe Biden. What they say instead is fake news or hate speech, or they say violence, right? Speech that is violent, apparently, on the internet. Then that's the stuff that has to be removed. So keep that in mind, right? When we're reading these kinds of stories, they're written in a way that almost gaslight us from even recognizing when it's happening to us. That's why these stories are so scary. So this Newsweek goes on to say, the program allows internet users to report on others who spread mistaken opinions online in order to create a good public opinion atmosphere. That is what they're claiming. So, and that is what we hear a lot here in this country, right? We've got a lot of this report fake news. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, even though she didn't create an app or a hotline necessarily, did say flag posts you find on Facebook, flag it so that the Facebook overlords can take a look at that post and potentially remove it and consider it dangerous or misinformation. So that's how, this works, because, well, why? And then you ask, let's say you ask AOC or somebody else, well, why? Why do you want to flag some people's opinions and things that they believe in, information they're sharing? They say, well, because it's dangerous. It leads to, it's hate. It's making the place unsafe. That sounds a lot like what China's saying. We need good public opinion atmosphere. Right? We need a positive place. We need a safe space. That is kind of what China's saying. We want a safe space. We want to make China a safe space. So if you see somebody not making things so safe, then report them. Says right here that, who said this quote here, the administration of China said in a notice, quote, for a while now, some people with ulterior motives has spread historically nihilistic false statements online, maliciously distorting, slandering, and denying party, national, and military history in an attempt to confuse people's thinking, the notice said. Quote, we hope that most internet users will play an active role in supervising society and enthusiastically report harmful information. Ooh, that sounds an awful lot like what we're dealing with here in this country right now. So luckily, our government so far hasn't created a hotline or an app to report misinformation, but I don't think we're that far off. I mean, if you really look at this and think about the things that China is saying, that sounds a lot like what is being said, even in these congressional hearings with Democratic party leaders. I mean, they're sitting there saying, oh, we have to do something about these false statements online, about maliciously distorting, slandering, and denying truth and science, right? They say in the name of science, and then they go and they completely silence and censor scientists. So it says that the hotline is a crackdown on historical nihilism. So it's saying this is ultimately nihilistic. And that is what a lot of people that are calling for more censorship are saying in this country. They're saying this is harming us. This is dangerous. These people are basically domestic terrorists and they're harming our country. So even though we use slightly different language, right now, much of the conversation is very much going along the same lines of China's Communist Party. And I think that should be extremely alarming to everybody. China is a one narrative nation, and it is a one party country. You cannot have, at this point in China, a deviation in the one nation narrative, the one narrative nation. And they're also a one nation narrative because they got that one China policy, right, with Taiwan and all that. So they have very, very strict rules on what you can and cannot say. Now, here's where it gets really, really scary. China has a lot of control over our country. They have a lot of control over our entertainment industry, over our sports industry, movies. China owns Legendary Entertainment. China owns AMC Theaters. China is the biggest purchaser, I believe, the biggest client of companies, and even they do all the manufacturing for companies like Nike, right? So you've got all of these athletes that are beholden to China. You've got all of these entertainers that are beholden to China, and they have a loud voice. So when you've got people like LeBron James, right, he says something that's controversial like he did last week, and then people are talking about it endlessly, right? So these celebrities, these athletes, they have a lot of sway when it comes to the cultural discourse in America. And so if you start seeing these celebrities, as we're seeing more and more, right, you can't even watch an award show without it being like everything slapping you in the face, social justice left and right and all these things. And it's like, listen, I just wanted to kind of escape. That's kind of the point of movies. That's the point of entertainment and actors, is you're supposed to take us to some sort of fantasy land. And instead you're making us live very much in our reality. And it's like, or even an alternative reality in a lot of cases. And it's just like, whoa, okay. So you've got all these celebrities doing this, and they're doing it because there's a lot of pressure in the entertainment industry to take on a certain narrative. They're not allowed, or they're blacklisted. They're not allowed, or they're potentially going to lose their jobs. As we've seen Hollywood actors lose their jobs, lose their, whether they're directors, whether they're actors, whatever they might be, they're losing their jobs if they don't take the right narrative. And a lot of that is because China is very much financially in control of our entertainment industry, has a big grip on it. And same thing with our sports industry. These athletes don't want to lose their sponsorships. They don't want to lose their ability to play. And so they have to stay with a certain narrative or else. Now, obviously, sometimes in this country in particular right now, a lot of the narratives that are about China are, in fact, inaccurate. So there's a lot of misreporting about China. There's a lot of demonizing of China that is just not accurate. And look, you can demonize China and hate China all you want, I suppose, but at least base it on facts. And a lot of people don't. And so there's a lot of that. And so China utilizes its weight in the entertainment industry to tell its athletes and its actors, don't you dare speak up on this because it's false. And in some cases, it's true. But nonetheless, they shouldn't have the ability to control our entertainment industry and control the things that they think or say or opinions, any of that. Even when I agree with China on something, I still don't think they should have the ability to tell people what they can and cannot say by threatening their livelihoods. And in some cases, it's stuff that is, China is wrong on, and they're controlling the narrative because they're able to control our entertainment sector. Beyond that, they control quite a bit of our business. But mostly, one thing that they were very smart about, if you're going to control propaganda, if you want to control narratives, then you control the culture. You control what people see on television, what they see in movies. And other countries are very aware of this, more so than America. And the reason why they are is because when you're living in a foreign country and you're seeing American movies and American sports, you just say, I want to go to America. I want to live in America. I want to be in America. Other countries are intimately very aware of how much impact the entertainment and sports industry has had, even on their own populations. They see their people wanting to dress like American celebrities, wanting to dress like American athletes or American musicians. They see this. So they know that this propaganda, this force, this entertainment force out there is extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. We don't notice it as much here because we're used to it. It's ours. We're not in America sitting there thinking, I wish I could live in America, right? That's just not something we're thinking. We might think, man, I wish I had all that money like that celebrity, but we don't think, I wish I could move to this foreign place and live amongst these people and everything just seems so, it's all glorified and amazing. But these other countries are very aware of it and their politicians are very aware of it. So China was wise in investing and buying up a lot of the entertainment and investing in so much in our entertainment industry that they have enough sway, that they are powerful enough to cause silence. And that scares me because when China now says this is what we're doing to combat fake news and misinformation, they could start encouraging these athletes and encouraging these celebrities to start also promoting that same sort of thing here. And we also see China potentially even putting some sway on big tech, because if Google, if Facebook, if Twitter, if they want access into the Chinese market, they're going to have to play by China's rules. And China says, these are the rules we have. We are a one narrative nation. We do not allow certain amounts of dissent and certain types of dissent. And so you have to control that. And for a long time, our big tech companies were saying, we're not really so willing to do that because we're based in America and America has values. Those values are freedom of speech. But you know what? Not so much anymore. That's all shifting. And so we might see this shift. We might see our own country go down this path of creating an app to snitch on your neighbors and their mistaken opinions, making sure that they're not allowed to spread that misinformation that would allow for a change of party in the political system. So that is something to kind of keep our eyes on, be very aware of. China is one of those countries. I definitely have an approach to China where, you've got left and right wing approach. We're kind of left, although that's sort of shifting a bit with the Biden administration. They're kind of going the same way as Trump. But the people, the left wing people are still very, very, kind of pro China. They're not willing to criticize China so much except for certain things. I don't know. It's all kind of a mess right now because when you got the Uyghur situation, then you got the left all over that. And now the right's kind of jumping in on board on that. But then you've had this sort of hesitancy to criticize China, saying that it's racist or, and then you've got this other side that just wants to totally demonize China. The right wing wants to demonize China to the point where it's, look, they're our competition. If we want to beat them, we need to compete. We don't need to demonize. We don't need to threaten or try to create war or hostilities with them. We just need to compete and may the best country win. That's the way it should work. So keep your eyes on what's going on with China, though, and censorship, because I fear whatever happens over there starts to leak over here. And that's sort of the point. So